Welcome to this week's Endurance for Everyone podcast.
The following program is for entertainment purposes only. Though the hosts of this show are certified Ironman coaches, their attempts at long-course triathlons and endurance events should not be taken as an endorsement for you to do something stupid too. You should make your own bad decisions, then podcast about it. Now, let's start the show.
Hey, this is John Harris.
And this is Rob Bozovich.
And Endurance is for Everyone, and this is the Endurance for Everyone podcast.
Hey guys, Rob running the interview here today. If you looked at the title, you'll see that we have Vanessa Snyder from the Endurance for Everyone group on. I've known Vanessa a while now, probably 8-10 years, and we'll get into that in a few minutes or so here. And what we're really going to be talking about today is kind of her progression a little bit through and into triathlon, her background and history on what she's done fitness-wise, then progression through triathlon, leading into her training and completion of her first full Ironman here recently in Lake Placid. So without much further ado or introducing, I'm just going to go ahead and welcome her on. Vanessa, welcome to the show. How you doing this morning?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, just ducky. So, I can go on and on about the follies of my, crummy training, but we're here to talk about all of your successes and so forth. So, I not a very long intro there, but when I say, I told everybody, we've known each other about, 7-8 years or more here, been around the same circles early on in the town, because you could interject and say, not the most people that are doing the stuff that we're doing as far as running and training in our little town, right?
Not very many people.
Yeah. What you do it literally as as your job. So why don't you tell people what you do, and then let's go back way back in time when I say, because you're local born and bred up in this area. So tell everybody a little bit about you. How you grew up, what you did whenever you were younger. As far as, let's say, sports and so forth, and lead us all the way up through maybe like when I met you. Let's go through early life, if we will. I'm going to mute my mic so I don't sneeze or cough or anything horrible, and just let you talk for a bit.
All right. Sounds good. All right, guys. Well, I am actually a YMCA director. I am the aquatics and wellness director here at the Clearfield YMCA in Clearfield, Pennsylvania. I recently took this job 4 years ago. Prior to that, I was the fitness coordinator at the Village at Penn State University for 2 years. And then prior to that position, I started my first position here right out of college at the Clearfield YMCA as program wellness and aquatic director. And that is whenever I actually got to know Rob and got introduced to Rob and started all of the good fitness related things in this area with Rob. I guess like we started some races together and picked each other's brains and started to make our community a little bit healthier, because it really wasn't that healthy. At the Y, right now I'm the aquatic and wellness director, which I, had done in the past as well. Basically I teach, fitness classes Monday through Friday here. I try to just do one fitness class a day, but that doesn't really, fall into my plan. Sometimes I'm teaching 2 to 3 fitness classes a day here. I still do teach Les Mills body pump class over in State College twice a week, as well as, having my full-time position at the YMCA. Whenever I had left the Village at Penn State, they still wanted me to teach the fitness classes over there. I had brought body pump to RY, and, when I had started working over there, it was very time constricting. So I just took a position over there teaching pump, and I've just maintained that for the last, 5 years, 6 years there. So what I do at the Y, I teach silver sneakers classes. Basically, they're like, intermediate step classes without the step aerobics. We do a lot of high intensity cardio with, built-in weights. So it's a lot of little things that actually help me in the triathlon and, running and swimming and biking, because it's little things that I'm not going to do on my own. It's the little things I'd say that count the most, because hip bridges and little movements and range of motion exercises really do help, your body better than just going in that forward and backward motion. I also teach spin classes here at the Y. I normally teach 2 to 3 a week, and about 2 to 3 silver sneakers classes, as well as a little bit of yoga and some Tai Chi. I also sit at a desk, not a lot, but I do have a little bit of a desk job. But the majority of my job is basically on my feet, 8 hours a day, running around, teaching fitness classes, hopping in the pool, doing some things in the pool. So obviously training is not, hard or difficult by any means to fit into my schedule, because I'm basically doing it as my job, which is, awesome. I'm very blessed to have that opportunity. Looking back in my life, when I was real young, my mom really wanted me to be a dancer, and I never really fulfilled that dream of hers. I was a gymnast. I have the body of a gymnast. I started when I was 3 years old, and I finished when I was 18. Yes, I can still currently do a round off back handspring and a back handspring. I just do it with my niece just to, fool around in the backyard. But I see stars now than when I did when I was, 4 or 5. But yeah, I did that my whole entire life pretty much. And gymnastics is a very physically demanding sport. You have to be extremely strong, and you develop all your muscles and your cardiovascular endurance so young in life. I really enjoyed it. It was definitely one of my favorite things, and I do miss it. I think that's why I got into what I'm doing now currently. But then when I went to high school, I went to Curwensville Area High School, which is a local school district in this area. They did not have gymnastics, but I kept up with my gymnastics lessons elsewhere, not at the school. I went to an actual gymnastics center for that. And I played baseball from the time I was 6 until I was, I think, 12. And then because I didn't have softball back then, girls softball. And then I played softball from the time I was 12 until the time I was 18. And I loved it. I was always a runner. I was in the outfield. Extremely loved the running aspect of things, and, just the physical conditioning. I also was a cheerleader, mostly for the gymnastics. And I did play volleyball in high school. So that's kind of my background, like early on. I always was that girl who was always active, but I was also, in the band and in the choir and in drama club. So I was pretty well-rounded kid. I didn't just, I wasn't just the jock. I was well-rounded in that aspect of things, and did many, many things in high school to make myself a well-rounded individual. And then when I went to college, I was supposed to go for softball, but that did not happen. So I did end up playing college volleyball for Slippery Rock University for 2 years. I really loved it. I really did. I was a defensive specialist because I'm short. I'm only 5'4" in the volleyball world, and that is short. You need to be, 5'6" or taller. So I was a defensive specialist for a few years. And honestly, it wasn't that I didn't like volleyball anymore. It just, I wanted to do something different. I always loved to run, and I still ran, in practice and when we weren't practicing, and I liked to lift weights, and I loved to swim. So that was really like, I just wanted to do my own thing, I guess, for once, because I had constantly been doing what coaches had wanted me to do for so many years. And it was just like, I want to focus on wellness for the rest of my life. And I want to do something that I love to do. And I really want to find that right now. So I did not, my sophomore, and I played my freshman and my sophomore year. And after that summer of conditioning, I didn't go back. I just moved on. It was a great experience. And, I'm really happy to have played at the collegiate level of volleyball. But at the same time, it wasn't for me anymore. And I just moved on. I started running a lot more, started swimming a lot more. Lifting weights a lot more. I actually competed in my first bodybuilding show my junior year of college at Slippery Rock. And that was definitely an experience. I'll probably never do that ever again. But, it was really tough. And I really wanted to do something different in a sense. because I had struggled a lot with, the self-image issues of being, a female and being a little bit curvy and, starting to come into my own body. And I never really felt comfortable in that until I did the bodybuilding and figure show. And then after that, I don't know, I really had a running background. I loved to do it. I started with a first 5K, and I think my first 5K I ever ran was like 25 minutes, which, not bad, for not, really working in the 5K zone or the heart rate zones that I needed to work in or my speed zones. And then honestly, after that, I just wanted to get faster, so I spent a lot of time trying to be a better runner, getting faster, trying to do things to, work my entire body, like work my entire body strength, lifting weights, everything, so that I could be a faster runner. And I successfully did that. I took my time from, 2008, whenever, I think actually 2007, I think was the first 5K I ever ran. And I took that 5K race, took that time of like 25 minutes down to, 22 minutes. And, that took a lot of work. I mean, there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears there on the treadmill, doing intervals and, on the track and everything that I possibly could do, a lot of miles, but I did it. And I was really extremely happy with that. And, you do a couple 5K races, you get some awards, and I just worked really hard in that aspect of things to get to that point. And then it wasn't that I got bored with it. I love to run. I'll never get bored with running, but I wanted something different. It's like after you only run 5 miles, it was like I was itching to do more and more and more. So, I was like, oh, I'll try a half marathon, and I did do a couple 10Ks, in between there. I think the most I had ever ran was 8 miles before I attempted the half marathon distance. And then I, went to the half marathon, and then I went to the marathon. And that was definitely a lot tougher than the half marathon, but I was really hooked after that. And it just how I felt and just pushing yourself to that limit, just a really good feeling. And I really, really enjoy that feeling, obviously, or else I wouldn't be doing this. But then, Rob, I'd known Rob for many, many years, and he
What
had
I'm
been
going
in
to do,
triathlon.
we have a little bit of a delay,
Yeah.
everybody, so I apologize if that, we're going to try to make sure that there's no cuts. I want to interject just a few things at this point. You can keep, we're going to let you talk a whole lot, Vanessa, but I had
Okay.
wrote down some stuff, and that way I just wanted to
Yeah.
cover I just have a few little questions if it's okay. And,
Yeah. No problem.
then, because then we'll go into the when you met me, and then we'll go a little bit forward,
Oh,
and then
okay.
we'll keep going from there.
Yep.
And what
Okay.
some of the things I find funny that some people, when I say not from our area, because I'm not originally from the area that I'm in now, where you and I both, live
Right.
here, but
Right.
you had said about all the sports, and then there wasn't softball. People like not from smaller areas won't get that, and so if I was to describe my market, I'm using air quotes here, of my business, my
Uh-huh.
marketable area,
Hmm.
you would know. I could say, hey, I market everywhere from Grampian and Mahaffey area all the way up to Carthage, Shawville. And if somebody, or Frenchville, and people are not from the area are like, oh, what's that? Well, that means that I'm sending, mail 30 miles south and 30 miles north in
Right.
order just to have a quote market area. My high school was similar in the fact that, in the fall it was football for boys or soccer. If girls wanted
Right.
to play soccer, the one girl that wanted to play soccer played on the men's team. There was
Right.
no track
Right.
and
Yeah.
field at my school.
Yep.
We didn't have a pool. There was no swimming. There's no cross country. When I say there's none of that, and people don't realize like some of the opportunities that just aren't there depending on where you grow up. And when I say it this way,
Right.
I don't want to say, oh, look at me, I was an uber athlete in high school. Hey, I was a letterman in football. I was a letterman in college, but or not
Right.
college. I'm sorry, in
Right.
football and in wrestling. But that being
Right.
said, is our football team would have been equivalent, similar to maybe yours, and that is, if we need 11 guys on the field, we had 16 guys total on the team. So whenever you
Right.
played both ways, it wasn't because you had skill; it's because it was out of necessity. And
Right.
and that's
Exactly.
and I just wanted to interject that because some people aren't gonna they're gonna be like, oh, I don't know, what did she mean that this wasn't around? It's just
Right.
the
Right.
opportunities
Right.
weren't there.
Right.
And that starts with everything. One or two, and we could dig for hours on them. I just wanted to bring up that, and I want to say this tactfully, and I hope everybody understands this too. Every time I've ever seen you, and when I say seen you, from early on till now, I've never seen you overweight or like I always like self-deprecating joke about myself, and it's an old Kevin James skit, I believe, and that is I myself, Rob, my goal in life is to be able to brush my teeth without certain things jiggling. We'll say, okay,
Right.
and I'm gonna say I find it very interesting that you had said that it sounded like you had some body issues there earlier on, and when I
Yeah.
say it this way, nobody would know who she is from my hometown, but we had a female that loved playing hockey, and I would always
Hmm.
equate when I say and some of this bodybuilding stuff you are talking about. I would say it that way. I always thought you had a build similar to that, and when I mean that is I don't if somebody were to throw something at you, it's going to bounce off and come back quickly and kill them. You've always been very
Right.
muscular in your build, but I wanted to say you've always had like a bigger lower half, meaning like powerful
Yeah.
legs,
Yeah.
everything you were just saying
Yeah.
goes through very much to me. I can see how you built that physique. You're talking about some
Right.
bodybuilding, lots of running, and all of the stuff that you're doing. But I thought it was important to interject that because there's a lot of people in our group, and even, you're saying how you're 25-minute, and you work so hard to get it down to 22 minutes, and
Right.
everybody is where there is, and that's why a lot of people, I think, in our area would look at you, or anyone on the Facebook group would look at you and think like, holy hell, here's this girl and she's got it together, and but you still have, I don't want to say struggle, but you still have some of the same issues that everybody else has. You know what I mean? The self
Right.
doubts or the goals, and you want to further and better yourself in that avenue and aspect as well. So I
Oh
don't know. I
yeah.
just wanted to interject some of that stuff
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
some people sitting back and looking at you when I say your career thus far would be like, wow, I could never do any of this stuff. But and I'm not saying it's hard, not hard to just go do it. A lot of the stuff,
Right.
you're interjecting yourself into scenarios when I say you're not, I don't want to say familiar or comfortable with, but and I'll get that there in a second. Where I was kind of go with it. I don't know where you're going to go with the whole. And then I met Rob. Well, when I met you, and that's
Right.
what I knew about you back then, and for the most part, even now, it's she's always swimming and
Yeah.
she's always running. And so
Yeah.
I look at it as I was just getting into triathlon, and like every good, convert to this religion we call triathlon, you got to get all your friends into it. So
Yeah.
I'm looking at
Exactly.
it as
Exactly.
in, and I wrote it down here, and I've said it before, and I don't know if I've called you out by name, but I will. Years ago, and I always say, John and his former co-host Andy always talked about the Jan Brady's in the middle. The Marsha, Marsha, Marsha. I'm stuck in the middle,
Yeah.
and poor me. That's me when
Yeah.
talking about you, because a number of years ago we both did the Pittsburgh Marathon. We didn't run
Yeah.
together, never even saw each other, but ironically finished within what, like 1 minute of each other in that
Yeah.
race. In literally not
Yeah.
just 1 minute time wise, but you watch the finishing video and you come across, and like a minute later, here comes Rob coming
Yeah.
across.
You're in. Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
crazy. But I
Yeah.
say all that because when I say the whole Rob is, Jan Brady the middle, and that's, I was 230 pounds. You were
Right.
probably, I don't want to out you if you don't want to say it. I'm going to say you're 100 pounds lighter than me. And, here you come just do, do,
Yeah.
do, like a little bunny rabbit across the finish line. And I'm working so hard. And we had this, like, when I say almost dead even finish, and that's why I always say, like, hey, I use you as my example. Like, whenever they're setting Boston qualifying times, I'd have to cut an hour off my time, but you only have to
Right.
cut 30 minutes off your time. You're
Right.
about 10, maybe 5 to 10 years younger than me, 100 pounds lighter than me, and you only got to go 30 minutes faster? Come on,
Right.
So,
Right. 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 It's not fair.
but anyways, I just
Right.
wanted to say all that stuff because as I going
Yeah.
back to it now, um, like I said, I see you as a very, very strong runner. Every time I've ever seen you out, you're just enjoying it, you know, and I see
Yeah.
you as a very strong swimmer, and that's when I'm like, you got to do tries, you got to do tries, you got to do tries. So like
Right.
I'm the guy
Right.
that's pestering you about it. So
Right.
what caused, I don't know if that's where you were going to start going with it here, but
Yeah.
let's take that path. What caused you to finally do your first try, and then I think I don't know if your first was State College or not, but that's the one I want to talk about for just a minute,
Yeah.
and then we'll
Yeah.
go a little farther down the road there. So, what
Okay.
caused you to
Yeah.
first do it? How was the first training? What did you do? What did you like? What didn't you like? Go.
Well, I guess, like we've said before, I, know Rob for a really long time, and he was just starting to get into the triathlon. And, he was kind of like, I think you need to do this. I think you need to do this. I have a really strong swimming background, which I didn't mention beforehand. I mean, honestly, I can't even remember when I started swimming, other than, my parents literally putting me in an inch water of a kiddie pool, when I was a baby. Because they, I mean, and I'm grateful for that. They did not want me to not know how to swim, because we live near a lot of lakes and creeks and small little, rivers and such. So it would be in my best interest to know how to swim. And the funny thing is, like my grandparents did not know how to swim. My mom and her brothers and sisters knew how to swim, as well as my dad and, his siblings. But that older generation just in our area, just it wasn't a mentality. It was just work, 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 go to work, make the money, come home, have a family, do that. So I'm really grateful for that. So I had a really strong swimming background, which I never really did anything with. I'm a lifeguard. Obviously, I'm an aquatics director. I swim a lot. I train a lot of lifeguards. I do a lot of stuff here at the Y as well as outside. And I had honestly been swimming for years and years and years. And I never was on a swim team. I went to a very small school, like I said earlier. We didn't have a swim team. We had a pool that was used for swimming lessons, where we were taught from kindergarten, to sixth grade. And then if you wanted to be a lifeguard, obviously you stayed in the pool pretty much until you were, a senior. And I did that. I was a lifeguard. I went through the course whenever I was in, a sophomore in high school, and really started getting into the swimming. I had a really great, swim lesson instructor who taught me the ins, the outs, everything I needed to know. And honestly, I never really did anything with it. I just swam, to get recovery from running. I used to tell people it was my magic pill. Honestly, I never used to tell anyone that I swam, because it made my legs feel so awesome before like a big race. And I didn't really want to give that secret away, but now, I'm like, oh, I can give out my secrets. But, but yeah, I mean, honestly, I was swimming pretty much Ironman distance my whole life without even really knowing it. And just got into doing my first triathlon. Rob, kept going, oh, you should try one. You should try one, and eventually I said to my husband, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to try it. And I actually had, a pretty crappy bike. It was like a hybrid mountain bike. I signed up to do the Happy Valley Sprint Triathlon. It was my first triathlon. The swim was, I think, 800 meters, and the bike is 12 to 13 miles, and then the run is a 5K. And I'm not really a big open water type person swimming. So, and honestly, I kind of got a little anxiety over swimming in a lake or in the ocean. So I figured I'd better start with, a pool where I could see the black line, because that's literally what I've seen my entire life, especially swimming, swimming freestyle or swimming the strokes. And I did that triathlon, and I absolutely loved it. I mean, I'm going to tell you something. It was extremely painful. Like, I mean, it was so painful because I just never expected how it would be like from the bike to the run. But I loved every bit of that pain. And I just, honest to God, was hooked, like instantly. Like, it was just like, I'm doing another one of these, type of a thing. And I think I said to Rob, I think I texted him later in the day, because he was like, how do you feel? And I was like, I've got to take my dog out for another 3-mile run, because I think I could go further, I mean, so I knew at that point, like, I was fully conditioned, even though my biking background was very, very weak. It was very minimal. Biking definitely is not my specialty.
Well,
Well,
and
it wasn't.
that right there is I just want to jump in on the only, and I'm not going to call it criticism, because anyone who's tried to get anybody else in triathlon always says the same thing. Like, you got to do it. You got to do it. Like, you just even go borrow a bike and just like borrow your kids,
And
friends,
just do it.
neighbor's bike with a basket and just go do it. Like, when I say that's what you did, you know, it was very generous. Somebody did lent you a bike, and it at one point it was most likely a very nice. It was basically just a mountain bike with like with slick tires, and it was ill-fitting. It was super heavy, and the course, it wasn't a 7,000 foot of elevation, but it wasn't flat. And you know, for as strong as you were in the other two, that's why I think, like, when I said that, saw this glimmer of hope, like you. And that, when I say what killed me as well, is because as much as I love triathlon, I love biking. So the fact that, you know, and that's and I say that's why. And the only thing that I then, like, okay, now I pestered you enough to get you on the bike or on the triathlon, but afterwards you're like, I like this. You said I can go longer, but man, do I hate biking. And like, to me, that's just like somebody saying, like, and because I hate sugar. No, I love it. I will eat like 19 pounds of it right now if you put it in front of me, and I can't. So like, when you're saying, oh, like, I hate biking, and I'm like, no, it's the bike. You need to get a new bike. And then you're just like looking at me like, oh, okay, you're just trying to lie to me and get me in a little bit deeper here. But you know, so, and it doesn't need to be, it doesn't need to be super, super long. What happened when you got your first, I don't want to use I don't want to be mean and say real bike. What happened when you got your first better bike, and what happened when you got the one you have now?
Well, I was, you know, obviously Rob and I were talking in great depth about, you know, getting a road bike. And because, I mean, I really did love triathlon, and I wanted to get better at it. You know, I mean, I'm not competitive with other people. I'm just extremely competitive with myself. And I was just so hooked at it, and hooked at the pain aspect of it. Like, it was so totally different than like the marathon, that you know, I was on the search for a bike, and I think it was like the first or second weekend in July, either before the 4th or after, I had done that sprint try, and I was searching Craigslist for a road bike, Penns Woods, everything I possibly could, just to find something, so that I could do another bike, and, you know, another event. I did sign up for the Pittsburgh Triathlon, and we ended up, I didn't have a bike by that point, but I did end up, what was it? I rented a bike there was a local bike shop down there, and I actually did much better. I mean, it was still like a cyclocross type bike, you know, it was still a pretty heavy bike. But the swim got canceled because the sewage into the water system, and et cetera. So, I, you know, obviously after I had done that one, I was like, okay, well, that was a duathlon. So like, I have to actually do the try, you know, so I'm looking for another one. And I did the Keystone Triathlon in, it's down near Pittsburgh, about an hour from Pittsburgh north on my end. And I was searching and searching and searching and searching, and finally found a bike. I found it in Pittsburgh, bought it off of a guy his girlfriend, you know, he bought it for his girlfriend. She didn't like it. She didn't want to ride it. Looking to sell it, paid $500 for a Jamis Ventura. I think it was 54 centimeters, which was a little too high for me, which I had never gotten actually fitted for a road bike. So, you know, I just bought it. And literally like 3 days later, which was, you know, my husband buys all my gear for me, because I don't know, he's very supportive of everything. And, you know, I'm extremely happy and blessed for that. So he buys it for me for my birthday, and we go pick it up. And then I did this next triathlon like 3 days later, never being on a road bike ever in my entire life. Well, we'll just say I fell off of it, and I got scraped up pretty good. But I mean, other than that, like, it was
trial
great.
by fire on that one.
Right. And it was, well, and the thing is too, like, I didn't fall off because it was dry. It was pouring down rain, and the roads were wet. And of course, like, me never being on a road bike ever in my entire life, had no idea when you go around a turn, you need to like slow down, because like on a mountain bike, you don't really need to, because the bike's heavy, you know? So, I mean, and it's got the real fat tires. So you're not going to fly off the bike. Well, needless to say, I was coming down a pretty steep hill, and I was like, wow, I'm getting some air. And I'm like, oh man, the brakes don't really work. And the turn was coming, and Vanessa wasn't turning and the bike was turning. And it was horrible. I just like literally jumped off the bike landed on top of me. I'm surprised I didn't actually like rip open my tri-suit that one of our swim team coaches from Clearfield gave to me because I was too cheap to buy one. And I guess I didn't really want to spend the money if I wasn't going to do it for a long time. So, that it hurt really bad. And also I didn't have clip-in shoes. I didn't wear clip-in shoes at all until just recently, like a year ago. So I had sneakers on, this tri-suit that wasn't even mine, brand new bike, fell off it, bent the handlebars, finished the race, in 2 hours and 15 minutes. So it was still pretty good. And I think that try was 1 mile swim, 27-mile bike, and it was extremely hilly, even on a road bike. And then it was a 10K run. So, then right into that, I didn't really want to bike again. it was just like, I was really worried I was going to fall off the bike, cause I was just so awkward. And I rode bike with my mom and my dad and my sister to go get ice cream on Rails to Trails, like with our local Rails to Trails. And then we'd ride home, or like we'd ride to go get supper and we'd ride home, type of thing. Which was still great activity, but it was just a lot different, for me, because my change of pace on the bike I had to attack it. I had to be faster. I had to be, there was more skill involved than just riding it from the house to get ice cream and home type of a thing.
Gotcha. Well, so then you've done a few tries, and then at this point, you talked about a bunch of them that I hadn't even known. Let's just take a minute or two when I say to hit the 2 or 3 other ones when I say that I kind of knew a little bit about, and then I want to get into the Ironman stuff, and I know I want to make sure I'm trying to keep an eye on time here. So I know you had then said you went and did Raystown. And obviously you did pretty good at Raystown Try, and I don't remember what distance you did down there, but I know you did that, and then that I believe that qualified. You ended up going. It was either there or you went to the Dam Try. One or both of those qualified you for nationals, and you did go out to USAT nationals before getting your current bike and getting into this whole crazy thing called Ironman. So. What was the progression on that? How was that? And then, let's just take a minute or two on those couple.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I still had the Jamis, and, I trained on it a lot. I did not have any clip-in shoes. I trained with Rob a lot, and, our local group that rides, around here in Clearfield, and Mike Butler, who pretty much Rob and Mike, they kind of like took me under their wing and taught me the ins and outs of things, and how to bike properly, how to shift properly,
that a seat can be adjusted. When you want to go
up the hill, that the seat can actually be adjusted, and I didn't know that. So it was great, and it was really good that I had someone to show me those things, because I honestly don't know, like at this point, if I would have gotten this far if it wasn't for them doing, that and showing me that, and just being extremely helpful, and not thinking I'm absolutely silly and ridiculous because I wanted to wear sneakers because I was afraid I was afraid of being clipped into the bike, and X, Y, and Z on that. And it was just nice. They were just truly just friends, and they just really like helped me out, and I was greatly appreciative for that. I have no idea why I wanted to do a half Ironman, but I signed up for it, and I basically just trained. Obviously I said I teach spinning here at the Y, so I trained literally 3 days a week, doing like hour-long spinning sessions, and then I would go out and do 1 or 2 long rides. I'd probably do like a shorter ride on a Saturday with a run, and then I would do a long ride with a longer run on Sunday, and then I did the half, which honestly, I was so worried because, I wasn't your average triathlete. I didn't have the clip-in shoes. I didn't have any of the special gear that I needed. I literally just showed up in a tri-suit with a swimsuit, and, I didn't even have like a wetsuit. My husband had to rent me one from Detroit when he was up there working. and the water was 56 degrees. It was just, I just wanted to see if I could do it. Honestly, I didn't really care how slow or how fast I was in any of the areas. I had goals in the back of my mind, but it was like, you just want to finish. You just want to cross the finish line and just, you did it, type of a thing. And
Right, yeah.
so all the training, I ran every single day. I taught all my fitness classes, here at the Y, which are about an hour. So between 1 to 2 hours of fitness classes a day with my running on top of that. And then I would swim for the half Ironman. I only swam 2 days a week, and I would swim between 45 minutes to an hour. It truly just depended on my schedule. I would normally swim on my lunch, and it's crazy because like for me, swimming takes an hour for me. It doesn't matter what. Like even if I just plan out like 45 minutes to swim, it just seems like it takes an hour because you've got to change and you got to do all that stuff. So I really had to do speed workouts for that race. I had to be really specific in my training in the swim just so that I could, get my job done as well. I had a lot to do at the Y other than just teach classes. So I had to get my work done as well and still, train, do what I, wanted to do outside of that. But yeah, I did it. I went and I did it on the Jamis, and, my running was really strong at that point. I went in with a real strong swim and a real strong, run. My biking had improved extremely well. Of course, the half Ironman is, a 1.2 mile swim, 56 mile bike ride, and a half marathon run. And seriously, that course was so hard, and I dominated it. I couldn't believe it. Just from going from, where I live and training, it was absolutely perfect because it was a very hilly course, and I like to climb hills. I'm a really great hill climber on my bike. And, so climbing hills was not an issue for me. Descending hills, I was very scared because I had fallen off many times descending, just because turns, and I, wasn't really great at the turns and the brakes and everything. So I'm really slow downhiller, but I'm a really great uphiller. And there, it was just pretty much rolling hills. So it was basically everything that I trained for back home. And the run was fairly, easy too. It was just, we did have a mile uphill and a mile downhill. Which really at the end of a race that long, it does just trash your quad. So, it was like the uphill wasn't bad, but it was just like the downhill just kills you, And I finished that it was just shy of little over 7 hours. And I was extremely happy with that. I did end up falling off my bike because the berm was very, very 2 miles before the finish. I was coming down a hill, and there was a car coming both ways, and they really didn't see me. And I got my bike over in the gravel, and it was too far off the road to get back on, and I just kind of tumbled. It wasn't like a terrible fall, but it was, it was just one of those things that kind of knocked you silly for a little bit, got back up, got to the finish line. So the big joke is with my husband, he's like, oh, you would have been 2 minutes faster if you want to fall off your bike. But I didn't really want to get hit by a car either, type of thing. So
priorities,
I finished that. Yeah, there's priorities there. But yeah, I finished that in just a little over 7 hours. I think it was 7:02 something and some change, which I was really happy. I wasn't worried about anything else other than getting a nice clean shower and taking off the outfit that I had. But my husband was patting me on the back and going, so the next thing is the full. We're doing the full. And I just kind of thought, you're crazy. You don't even know, you don't even know how I feel right now, which I'm not going to lie. Honestly, before I did the half Ironman, anyone can do this, because I thought I was literally not going to be I was going to be crawling across the finish line. Okay. And I didn't crawl at all. I felt extremely good. I woke up the next day and I was a little sore, but I wasn't I went for a little run with the dogs. It was only 3 miles, and I think I went for even a little swim, and it wasn't anything serious. It was just to keep my lactic acid moving, through my body. And then after Raystown, I registered for the dam try because Rob had said it was a good try and that I could qualify for nationals. So I had signed up for that.
And a little backstory too. I'm gonna hit one or two things. I won't talk a lot
Yeah,
because I want to make sure we
no.
try to get as much in about your Ironman
Hmm.
before our time limits are up here. And
Yeah.
that is, you had said if anyone can do the half. My first half was in Quasi, Connecticut, and Rev 3, and it's as hilly as Raystown was. I was like
Yep. Yep.
265 pounds when I did
Oh,
that, and so I'm the opposite of you. I'm
right.
very slow up hills, but very fast down
Right.
them. So I
Right.
agree with you when I
Right.
say it sounds very daunting, but you could do it,
Right.
and
Yeah,
that
exactly.
said is you had then had sent me some messages, and I don't even know if you were still thinking of it or not, but the reason why I was telling, and I had shared this offhandedly, and I'll share all the details, and that is you were asking me after your strong finish in the half about maybe going professional. And at this point,
Right.
and
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
want to sound like a jerk, but this is where now I'm like, I'm not saying you don't have the skills to, or you do. I'm not a
Right.
judge of that. But if you're
Right.
thinking of going professional, my thought was you probably are going to need to improve your biking skills, probably going to need to have
Yes.
add at least a zero to the price point on that bike, and if nothing
Right.
else, and these, and I've known this because of the damn try, like I can go out and win it. If not the
Right.
race, but my age group. So if I have the opportunity to go out and win it, that all being said, if that it's a different level of competition going all the way back to how we were
Right.
raised in our high schools here. So my thought was,
Right.
and I even told you, go do this one, the damn try, because you should be able to win it. That'll get you to
Right.
nationals, and then it's like you're playing with the big boys now, or girls, or you know what I
Right.
mean. These are you're gonna get out there and find, and I don't know if you're gonna crush it, win it, and get a contract, or if you're gonna be last. But at least would let you know
Right.
where you stand against people that aren't out there on their first borrowed bike. And that was kind of
Right.
the thought process behind that. So
Right. Right. Yeah, and I mean, I did like I seriously after Racetown, I seriously considered going, trying to get to that point. Um, just just because I really liked it and I really didn't think I was going to like it. Like honestly, I never wanted to do triathlons ever, and then I just was instantly after my first one, I was just so hooked. So, I was like, man, I'm in this, and I want to get better at this. So I signed up for the dam try, and I did compete in the Olympic distance with my Jamis. Um, but before that, I think it was like the week before that, I did get the email. I got an email stating from, USA Triathlon that had said that I had qualified from the long course to be able to go to age group nationals in Omaha, Nebraska. And, obviously, like, I was just like, wow, like, I mean, I'm so new to this. I can't believe that. Yeah, I mean, I did a half Ironman with sneakers. I didn't do a half Ironman with clip-ins, I mean, could you imagine, like, if I actually spent a little bit of money on this and a little bit of time on my biking a lot more, how good I could actually get at this? And so I got the email. I had went and done the dam try, and I qualified twice for the Olympic distance at the Olympic national age group nationals in Omaha, Nebraska. And we went. My husband and I packed up our Chevy and we drove, across the country with the Jamis, not with the Cannondale. And I went and I just simply enjoyed it. I finished in, I think it was 2 hours and I think 12 minutes. And I was extremely, extremely happy with that. The swim was beautiful. The bike was easy. It was pretty much you climbed a little bit, you rode flat, and you came downhill. It was real. In my opinion, I would call it fast and flat, with a couple speed bumps. And the run was flat. So it was the first time I had ever experienced triathlon that way, because I had done, not that the other tries that I did weren't good. It was just like I was running down a red carpet, like with like national age group champion, thing over my head, USA Triathlon. There are tons of people. I mean, it was just crazy. I mean, I felt like an Olympian, you just felt,
yeah,
awesome. And
yeah.
I mean, literally, like, I'm so glad I had sunglasses on whenever I was coming across the finish line, because I mean, yeah, I've gone way further than that, at Raystown, but it was like, I had tears in my eyes because it was the coolest thing and the biggest accomplishment, in my opinion, that I've ever done, to do that. And I had been so new to triathlon that, like, I seriously didn't think I would be good at this at all. And here I was, competing at something a lot of people really, they try really hard to get to, to qualify for. And I did it, I did it in a year, and I was so new to the sport. And actually there at age group nationals, there was a rep for Team USA, and they wanted to sign me in a great deal, for a 5-year contract. We had to go to the meeting, which was, the next evening, which we did. And my husband and I really talked about it. And, my husband has a really great job. He makes, triple digits. I obviously don't make that much. But he's traveling a lot, and I don't know. We just decided that it wasn't for us. It's not that I didn't want to compete for Team USA, with the 5-year plan. I just thought, they wanted to get me to the Olympics and the triathlon, which would be awesome. But we just kind of thought there were some things there that were a little, iffy, just from the get-go. So we didn't do that. But I did sign a contract for a year, and it actually ended the day after I did the Ironman, which was pretty awesome. And I haven't re-signed the contract yet because I'll have to re-sign it at the end of September if I want to compete for another year with Team USA. And we did that. There was no money down for the 5-year contract. We had to put a certain amount of money down, and we were like, if they want you, they've got to kind of show you that they want you. I guess that was our opinion. And that's why we didn't do the 5-year plan. But we did do the 1-year plan. And honestly, I got a lot of support throughout the year. Not a whole lot of coaching support. I thought I would get a lot more coaching support. So I guess we'll see how that works. I actually reached out to John for a coaching plan so I didn't overtrain with all of the fitness classes during the Ironman. Because the goal for Team USA was they wanted me to go long course triathlon. So the plan was to do that. And I had chosen, that I was going to do Ironman Lake Placid, which, I'm really truly glad I did that, because the whole Olympic vibe business in my head, just cool, But that was an awesome experience. But I didn't really get what I thought I would get out of Team USA. Not that it wasn't that I guess maybe I just thought I would get more, I'd have people sending me nutrition things and, different things for workouts and, clothing and different things like that. And it was really just basically I was a part of Team USA. They sent me my yearly membership. I didn't pay anything for it. I just signed a contract with them. I got, some cool gear and pretty much some free little passes here and there to do little things throughout the year, to go to and sit in on webinars and, just listen to the athletes, which was really great for me, podcasts and stuff, go to some meetings and such, which was really beneficial to me. But my biggest thing for the Ironman was I needed to work on my bike. If I was going to ride 112 miles, number one, I needed a better bike. Number two, I needed to push myself extremely hard on that bike out of my comfort zone to get to that point. And my friend Mike Butler, he local here, extremely great biker. He found a Cannondale for me. We were up in Michigan. He kept telling me, get measured, get measured, get measured. Because still to this point, I had not ever really been measured for a road bike.
Right.
And I got measured, and I was actually 51 centimeter. And he found me a Cannondale, a CAD 10 for $1,000, and we bought it. And honest to God, it's been the total absolute difference. I love that bike. I have never loved biking. I've never loved anything, along the cycling lines until I found this bike. Literally, we were riding yesterday. We rode 27 miles yesterday. And at the end of our ride, we climbed up, I don't know how many hills. And I was just I love this bike. Thank you so much. Because it was just, I don't know. I guess, you have something that isn't that great, and then you go to something that's amazing, and you're just wow. Even picking it up, it's holy cow, this weighs literally as much as my cell phone. Like, I'm going to be fast on this, you know? And truly I was. I mean, I've worked my tail off to get good on the bike, and I'm not anywhere where I'm much more improved on the bike, but which I'm very extremely happy about, but I want to get better because I know there's more improvement there. So, you know, but I've only had that bike. I've been riding that bike since April, you know, it's fairly new. So I've literally I've got the ins and outs of the bike. It's now to like get a little bit, you know, a little bit more on the, like the skill, like how to go faster, how to do this, how to do that. But yeah, so I, basically, I mean, when I went from, the, you know, the Jammis to that Cannondale, it wasn't, you know, it was like night and day. Like, seriously, it was like super heavy bike, which really the Jammis really, I mean, when you're starting out, it's really, you know, coming off of a mountain bike, it's really light. But then whenever you go to like a Cannondale, oh my gosh, it's, you know, a much higher, you know, made bike, amazing. So, I mean, I can't even, I think it weighs like 11 pounds, if that, I think.
That is a super light
insane.
bike.
Like, yeah, it's insane. And, you know, I mean, it was truly just awesome, you know, to have that, you know, opportunity to get that bike so cheap and just start riding it and crushing it. And, actually, I forgot to mention this, but whenever I went to, age groups, nationals there, I still was riding in sneakers, and my buddy Mike Butler was like, no, you need to ride we got to get you some cleats because you can't be going there being the only person riding in sneakers, which I was like, you know, I can't do that. And, yeah, literally, like, it took me 2 weeks on the clips. I was not the greatest person on the clips, but I mean, after, you know, I mean, I think I went out every single day on the thing and clipped in, clipped out, and I was much better. So literally after 2 weeks, I was good to go. And I was happy about that because some people, it takes a long time to do that. I was worried, but it was real quick fix. And I, you know, went right from the sneakers to the clips, and total night and day there as well. I mean, it just made you so much faster.
Right.
Thanks for listening to the Endurance for Everyone podcast. If you have comments or questions for the show, send an email to teamE4E at enduranceforeveryone.com. And remember, swim calm, bike strong, and run steady.